From Bobology.com, this is Bob Cohen, helping adults learn how to use technology for fun and profit. Understanding the Cloud, Part 3, Cloud Services, recorded live. There's a couple of cloud services, and I'm going to go through them quickly, and we'll talk a little bit more next week about Apple's cloud, because that's what I use, and I'll show you how OneDrive and Google Drive works on them. But Amazon makes cloud. For those of you who wonder why in the world Amazon stock price is so high, Amazon is one of the biggest cloud companies in the world, if not the biggest. Companies like Uber and Instacart and others use Amazon's cloud services to provide the websites for a lot of applications in the world. Even Zoom, I don't know if Zoom uses Amazon, but they might in some cases use it. But rather than maintaining their own computers, they buy cloud services from Amazon. A common one used in business is Dropbox, and another one that I use is called SugarSync. They're all cloud services, but Apple and Microsoft and Google also include applications with their clouds. So let's talk about Apple first. It works on iOS, Macs, the web, and you can get to it from Windows as well. You can get to an iCloud Drive through your Mac and iOS and Windows. And it has apps that sync data so that you can have an iCloud account for email. You can keep your contacts in iCloud. You can work with it in iCloud.com, and it backs up your operating system for your devices. And it includes, if you choose to use it, your iCloud photo library. Okay. You get 5 gigabytes of storage for free. And if you take a lot of photos, that's probably not going to be enough. Your backup will probably get bigger. They charge you 99 cents a month for a 50 gigabyte plan, but they include apps for free when you purchase the device. And like they show here, this is a screenshot from Apple's webpage. It works on iPhone, iPad, iPod Touch, Macs, and Windows PCs. But most Windows PC users are used to using Microsoft, not Apple products. This is actually a screenshot of iCloud.com. So you can see I can get to my mail, but I only get to my iCloud.com email, not the other mail that I have, because the other mail is stored in a different cloud. The way to think of different clouds is a way to handle it by thinking of money in different banks. So if you have money in different banks, the money is there. It's just you have to go to that particular bank to get it out. So let's pause for a minute before I get into the other clouds, and then I'll show you a few things and see what kind of questions we have. What does it mean that Apple iCloud provides iOS backup? Okay, if you have an iPhone and you do not have your phone backed up, okay, if you lose it, if it gets stolen, or it gets damaged, you will lose everything that you keep on that phone if you do not have it backed up. So next week, we're going to go through the iCloud settings for making sure you are backing up, to make sure that backup is turned on and working. But when you don't have a backup of something, or if you had a master key, a key to your front door, and you didn't have a backup key, if you lost the key to your front door, you'd be locked out. Or if you didn't have a key to your car, they give you 2 keys when you buy a car. And if you lose one, you've still got one left. But if you lose both of them, you've got to get a replacement key.
Bob, I'm sorry. I feel like I've just fallen down a really dark hole. I have almost no idea what you're talking about. Okay, first off, you're saying that you're going to tell us next week how to back up our phones, which I have no clue how to do, so thank you. The syncing thing, I get the syncing question lots of times, depending on whether on tablet or my phone, or I don't know, my PC. They ask, do you want to sync or something? Do I say yes to syncing? What do I do?
The honest answer is it depends. It depends on the specific application and the specific type of data you want to sync. So if it's an application that's asking you to sync, then you want to think about, is this application going to sync information with another device and another set of information somewhere. And if I wanted to, then I would say yes. If I don't want it to, I'd say no. And so it's more a question of the specific application and the specific information that you want on there. And so some apps will sync automatically if you give them permission to, but it's more, we're getting a lot of these questions more because they're from apps and screens on our phones because it's a privacy issue. Is that when you sync your data, like Zoom asks you if you want to sync your contacts. Well, then Zoom gets access to your contacts. And before they changed a lot of their privacy settings, it was a little bit risky doing that. Now they're better about it. So that's the issue about choosing to sync when is more a matter of privacy, okay?
Okay, and can I, oh, sorry, go. Can I ask one more question? Now, this is way back when you started. So for my little tiny brain, when I'm thinking about accessing Chrome, which is the one I normally use, or I'm starting to use Microsoft Edge a bit, but it has some troubles that so I'm going back to Chrome a lot. But when I'm looking about Chrome and you're saying the cloud, somewhere there's a big warehouse in my mind with a bunch of computers all connected up to each other, and that's like Chrome Central. I know Google has one, from what you're saying, a lot of the private companies do, but for my tiny brain, should I just think somewhere there's a big warehouse out in the middle of Kansas with all these computers connected, and that's where my data is all coming back and forth? I'm not sure I quite understand where the cloud is housed.
You've got a pretty good handle on it. They're big warehouse buildings and tall office towers. I don't know if you've ever driven by Wilshire Boulevard in downtown LA, but there's a building called One Wilshire. One Wilshire is an office building that is filled from floor to ceiling on every floor with computers. It's the original hub for the internet in Los Angeles. And so a lot of our internet connections, it's kind of like a train switching operation. So that when we send a request to a website, like we want to get map directions from Google Maps, we don't really know exactly where Google keeps the maps on the internet. They could keep them in one place, they could keep them in a lot of places. But the internet knows that when we type in, get directions to Hoff's Hut or Denny's or whatever, that it sends it off to Google, and Google, it goes to some computer somewhere that Google runs, and Google calculates the map and sends the data back to us. It's the IP addresses that make sure that it comes back to us. That's what the internet uses, but it may go from us to the FiOS, switching station right up on the North Road, or it may go to Huntington Beach, or it may go to Santa Clara, and it may go to Japan. Probably not for Google Maps in the US, but we might get to when we're going to do things like in travel, planning a trip on a cruise, and we want to get ideas of what to do in Barcelona, the website might be in Spain, not here in the US. And so the internet just takes care of it. And you're right, there are warehouses and office buildings that are filled with dozens and thousands of computers. So Google and Amazon and Facebook and Microsoft, this is when they talk about the cloud business. That's what they do. And Microsoft and Amazon and Google provide services to other people. So like we might shop for something through a store, or we might get something from a travel site or something, and they might be somewhere else. They might be hosted in an Amazon data center, but that's what those big data centers are. That's the real location of the cloud, but it's all the wires that connect everything together too.
Well, that's very helpful. So now when there are all these, like Chrome has got this big warehouse with all these computers inside, then how do these others, is it optical cable down through the ground? I mean, or is it just the satellites, and how are they getting their data from one to another? Are they just using satellites nowadays? No more cable?
Satellites are a little expensive, but okay. Let's say you're on an oil exploration rig in the Gulf of Mexico. Mm-hmm. You're not going to have a cable running to you. So they use satellites to get up to the internet and get even places like 7-Elevens and gas stations and even fast food restaurants like Carl's Jr. They have dishes on the top of their buildings, and they actually send their data up from their point of sale systems at the end of through the day, but it's going up to the internet and being sent. So there's fiber optic cable, there's copper cable, there's people that run cable underneath the oceans, there's a physical and there's wireless. And we've got our cell towers. When you're using your phone, lots of times you're connecting on the internet via Wi-Fi or through your cellular connection. But you are using the internet, and the cloud isn't really any specification. It's not like USDA choice, it's not like anything that says it's certified this way. It's just a marketing term that became very popular.
Thank you.
Increasingly, people are being pushed to use the web for more and more services because the companies and the businesses and the organizations that provide the data, they don't have to mail out or make individual copies available to people everywhere. They can have one master copy of something on the internet, and they can tell people, when you want to access the latest version, the most current version, just go to the internet and it's there for you. So you don't have to worry about things being out of date. Let me just cover quickly Microsoft's and Google's cloud and give you some references. Then we'll open it up for questions. I've got about 3 slides left here for Microsoft has a cloud. Okay, Microsoft actually runs a commercial service called Azure, A-Z-U-R-E. And that's one reason why Microsoft's stock price is so high. They are a big technology company. We tend to use them as consumers, and as consumers, you get a free OneDrive account. You get the ability to access that drive from not only from Windows, but also you can get to OneDrive from Mac. I actually have OneDrive installed on my Mac. I have OneDrive installed on my iPhone, and you can get it on Android. So Microsoft is kind of a cross-platform application with Office and OneDrive. Okay, so you can get to it. You don't have to worry about, oh, I prefer Android over Apple, or I prefer Windows over Mac. Those become less important questions, over time. So you get 5 gigabytes free. You can add storage. If you subscribe to Office 365, which is how they sell their Office products now, an individual plan is $7 a month, and it includes 1 terabyte of storage. The better deal is by far the home and family plan, which is $10 a month for 5 computers and 5 tablets per person, okay? And you can have 5 users, so people can really use it on all of their devices, and every individual user gets 1 terabyte of storage on a disk drive called OneDrive that's in the cloud. So if you bought a new Windows 10 computer recently, Windows 10 includes setting up OneDrive automatically. And so some things are going to be stored on the cloud and on your computer in 2 places, but OneDrive will synchronize them whenever you're on the internet. So it takes care of it in the background for you, so you don't have to think about it. Google was one of the original people that pushed the cloud, and they make something called Google Drive and Google apps. They work on Windows, Mac, iOS, Android, Chromebooks. You get 15 gigabytes for free. You can buy 100 gigabytes for $1.99 a month. You can actually buy up to 30 terabytes from Google. Apple and Microsoft have smaller limits on it, but you can buy that, and they give you apps for free. You can get Google Docs, Sheets, and Slides. They have Forms. They have Google Drawings. They've got a lot of apps that are all available for free with your Google account. Increasingly, and these things the documents are stored in the cloud, and it works on every device, so that you have, as a consumer, a lot more choices now that are available. And that's one reason why Microsoft made Office 365 available on everything, because they were getting competition from Apple. Apple does not make their apps available on Windows or Android. And so Apple they want you to buy an Apple product to get those apps. And so Apple users tend to use those. We have some people in the Video Producers Club that use an Apple app called for video editing, and it only works on Apple products. So those are some things about cross-platform software. The more cross-platform applications you can use, the better off you're going to be able to work with some things. Now, there's a lot of links, okay? A lot of websites that I have, web pages that I publish on explaining the cloud, talking about cloud storage, explaining cross-platform, explaining what POP and IMAP email accounts. These are all in the handout, and they're on my website. You can even do a search on my website for any one particular term, and the search results will turn up web pages for you. And I've gone crazy. I've decided to start a podcast just because what else have we got to do with our time, right? I don't have too many episodes up on there, but if you, they're short podcasts, so if you prefer listening rather than reading, they're available to you too.